Nissan has brought back its performance sub-brand to spice up its electric family SUV. In an effort to make their cars stand out, particularly the electric ones, manufacturers have got in the habit of dusting off old names. There are storied ones like the Ford Capri and Renault 5, but the more niche ones are fair game as well. We've seen the odd Nissan Motorsport-branded Nissan Juke and GTR in Europe, but Nissan never developed Nismo into a fully fledged sub-brand like it has done in Japan. Now it's back to add some spice to the Nissan Ariya electric SUV and turn it into the Nissan Ariya Nismo. Design and styling. Those expecting an answer to the Hyundai Ioniq 5i or even the Kia EV6 GT should temper their expectations, because Nissan itself says it doesn't see the hot Hyundai as a rival. Instead, the Ariya Nismo is pitched at the Volkswagen ID4 GTX and ID5 GTX and the dual-motor version of the Kia EV6. Priced at £56,620, and there are literally no options, it is indeed in line with those cars, but on paper at least, the Ariya has a list of upgrades to make it at least a little more special. It uses the same 215 bhp front and rear motors as the standard dual-motor for Urus models, but where they're held back in the standard Ariya, in the Nismo they're allowed to deploy their full power for a total of 430 bhp. In Nismo drive mode, it can send up to 60% of the power to the rear wheels. That said, because the motors are the same, that is necessarily done by throttling the front one. The engineers have tweaked the suspension as well. The rates for the springs, dampers, and anti-roll bars are subtly up across the board, but more at the back than at the front, in order to encourage turn-in. Rear rebound damping in particular is up by 67%. Somewhat surprisingly, the dampers are passive. The Nismo sits on bespoke 20 inches Enki wheels with Michelin Pilot Sportive tires. Naturally, there are plenty of sporty accents with deeper bumpers and skirts, a ducktail spoiler, and lots of red accents. Interior. Inside, it's mostly standard Ariya, but with more red accents, a few Nismo badges, and black microsuede upholstery for the seats. It's a slightly odd combination, because the Ariya is fundamentally quite a Zen lounge kind of car, which makes the sporty elements sit somewhat uneasily. It's still a pleasing place to sit, with a good ratio of screen-to buttons, comfortable seats, and a reasonable amount of storage. You sit fairly high, but not irritatingly so. Space as the rear is pretty generous for the class, as is the boot space. For a more detailed overview of the Ariya's interior space, quality, and tech, we would refer you to our review of the standard Nissan Ariya. Engines and performance. The result on the road is whelming. When you put your foot down, it doesn't exactly feel like for 30 bhp. If I had to guess without seeing the spec sheet, I'd put it closer to 300 bhp. That's still plenty quick of course, but a little disappointing if you're expecting for 30 bhp. It's not helped by the way the accelerator is mapped. Unless you push past the kickdown switch, it slowly ramps up with the road speed and only releases full power around 50 miles per hour. There are a few different levels of regen depending on the drive mode, whether you've chosen D or B, and whether you've got E-pedal turned on. None of them amount to a freewheeling or full one-pedal driving mode. However,